mother and I will always be here to protect you.
Bruce Wayne was exposed to the unforgivable tragedy of losing his parents to crime whilst he was still a child. Swearing vengeance, he forged his body into the pinnacle of human potential, and used his wealthy influence to help him rid his hometown of Gotham City of crime, becoming the universally popular Batman. But what if the Dark Knight were a trained force sensitive within the Star Wars universe? Would he become a Jedi? A Sith? Or would he blur the line somewhere in between? Welcome to the long overdue second installment in Jedi or Sith. As you can see, Batman was the clear winner in the votes. Don't worry, Captain America will appear in the next episode, and you will find out the candidates for the following episode after that very soon. As a quick reminder, we'll be trying to work out whether or not Batman would identify as a Jedi, Sith, or one of the archetypes in between these two alignments. Various continuities are eligible for cross-referencing, so long as they are consistent with one another. Now let's get this episode finally underway. After deciding to fight crime, Bruce Wayne trained vigorously and honed himself into a pure weapon. Using an array of high-tech gadgets and a wide array of different martial arts, stealth skills, and intimidation abilities, Batman's primary and only true rule is not to kill his opposition, though the same can't be said about not being absolutely brutal in combat. This may stem from his projection of his deep inner darkness and constant internal struggle of combating his inner demons. While preferring to work alone, he can and will work with others when required, as can be seen by his training of his various Robin sidekicks, as well as his position as one of the leading members of the Justice League. Having said that, he will often opt out of working with a team if he does not agree with its plan of action, and instead follow his own protocol. With the basics out of the way, let's go over the various types of Force users and see which alignment would best suit the Caped Crusader. First we have the Jedi Knights. Their primary focus is maintaining peace and order throughout the galaxy and preserving life whenever possible, since they consider it more precious than anything else. At first glance, this seems like a decent fit for Batman, as maintaining order and preserving innocent lives is his primary focus. However, there are a few factors that make it unlikely for him to be a true Jedi. For one, Jedi are often focused on negotiation, and while Batman is an excellent negotiator, this isn't always his initial approach, at least more so than what could be considered your average Jedi. Secondly, his occasional unwillingness to follow his team's methods, tactics or wisdom leads me to believe that he would often go outside the jurisdiction of the Jedi Council, something a true Jedi would never do. Having said that, this doesn't mean he could not be a member of the Order at all, as some of them do fall within the first variety of Grey Jedi. These knights are members of the Order, but often go outside the Council's decisions and pursue their own course of action in a crisis. This is something that would be very fitting to Bruce Wayne, as he'll often take actions of this very description. There are two other primary forms of Grey Jedi, those being members of the Order that believe an occasional use of the dark side of the Force can be beneficial, and there are those who do not commit to any sort of use of the dark side, but belong to a faction outside of the Order, or none at all. The latter of these two is one that I find unlikely for Batman, as I think he would find it more beneficial to be a member of the Order, rather than not. The second variety, however, is one I can see as our first strong possibility. Batman already has a strong inner darkness, and hatred that he has often made use of in combat, and he is also very fond of intimidating his prey, as well as fighting incredibly viciously on occasion. It seems that the role of a Grey Jedi of this variety could very well fit Batman's persona. The Dark Jedi are Force users who are focused on their use of the dark side of the Force, and often achieve their goals through its use. For the most part, they do not seem to follow any particular philosophy or cultural code outside of their own personal beliefs. While I do think the dark side would have some incredibly strong benefits for Bruce, I find it unlikely for him to fully submit to it, as he would likely view it as too dangerous both to himself and the lives of those around him, since it would likely make him eventually break his one rule, the rule that he wouldn't be able to fix once broken.
All I've ever wanted to do is kill him. A day doesn't go by when I don't think about subjecting him to every horrendous torture he's dealt out to others, and then end him.
Aw, so you do think about me.
But if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
Power is paramount to the Sith. As the ancient enemy of the Jedi Order, the Sith have their own philosophy on life as well as their own code. They are often driven by the same things as Dark Jedi, being things such as hate, lust, passion, etc. They typically have no qualms about killing at all, and fall into a state of extreme moral degradation. I outright do not believe that Batman would fall into this category. One could say that Batman carries many similarities to the Punisher from our previous episode, albeit with Batman being somewhat more reserved, efficient, and not as reckless. Out of all the categories that we have covered today, I believe that Batman would likely operate within the ranks of the Jedi Order, but not to the extent of a true Jedi. Instead, I think he would operate as a grey Jedi who would make an occasional use of the dark side, who also prefers to work alone when he can, but will work with others when required. If I were to give a character example of who I would most compare Batman to, I would point my fingers at Mace Windu and the Jedi Spy Master Thrawn. While many people do have their own opinions on whether or not these two are grey Jedi, I can see Batman relating to Mace in his propelled use of his inner darkness in combat, without ever fully submitting to it, whilst also conforming to a similar lifestyle to Thrawn's, given that Thrawn's role as a Jedi Spy Master fits Batman's role as a detective incredibly well. Thank you so much for your patience on waiting for this second episode of Jedi Sith. I really hope you guys found it to be worth the wait, regardless of whether or not you agree with the outcome. What type of Force user do you think Batman would be? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode where we cover the first Avenger, Captain America. As for the following episode, like one of the pinned comments down below to vote for an episode on either Spawn, Hellboy, or Jackie Estacado. Be sure to get voting. Votes will be tallied in 2 weeks after this video is uploaded. Anyway, I'm out of here for now, so until next time, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for updates, and of course, may the Force be with you.